Hi guys, how are you doing? This is Sebastian from techcentury, and just 1 week before the announcement at the Mobile World Congress, it seems like there was a huge leak that revealed all the details about the HTC One M9. So let's take a look at this beast of a flagship after the intro. So now to first talk about this leak, it was actually a listing of the HTC One M9 that was published on a German online store called Cyberport.de, and it's one of the biggest online stores here in Germany. I've ordered from them multiple times and they're a very reliable store usually. So they published a listing of the HTC One M9 including press pictures, all the specs, a price and even the release date. So this is the source where all of these information come from, and it seems very reliable. So let's get started. Now first off, talking about the design, it seems like there won't be a dramatic difference between the One M8 and the One M9. There were a couple of pictures published a few weeks ago by F-Leaks that suggested that the HTC One M9 would look completely different from the M8. But now the pictures that were published by Cyberport.de basically look identical to the HTC One M8, except for the fact that the camera cutout on the back of the One M9 is a square and not circular, and that there's also just one camera on the back, and that the dual camera module is nowhere to be found on this new HTC One M9. Now when we continue to talk about the specs, it seems like we still get a 5-inch display, and even the resolution will stay the same at Full HD 1080p, so it doesn't seem like HTC will get into the spec wars when it comes to display like the LG G3 or the Note 4, which all have Quad HD displays, but it seems like HTC will stick with the 1080p panel, and this might just help with things like the battery life, for example. And so this is a decision that HTC made. I personally feel like a Full HD display is good enough, but then again, I already have a Full HD display on my HTC One M7, so it's kind of disappointing to see that there's not really a big leap or just progress when it comes to the display, and that it has stayed the same resolution for 2 or even 3 generations now. When we talk about the processor, it seems like there will be the same chip in the HTC One M9 as in, for example, the Xperia Z4 or also the LG G4, and that's the Snapdragon 810 8-core processor by Qualcomm. So this is actually a processor that consists of 2 quad-core processors, so you don't have 8 cores running at the same time as with some new MediaTek chips, but still the performance should be absolutely amazing. And in addition to that, we also get 3 gigs of RAM here on the 32GB version of the HTC M9. The performance shouldn't be an issue at all on this new device. Now when it comes to cameras, this is probably where the most exciting upgrade happens. So we still have an ultra pixel camera with 4 megapixels, but at least now it's only on the front, and on the back we'll get a 20 megapixel camera that will even be capable of recording 4K videos. So at least in my opinion, that's a big upgrade, because I still have my HTC One M7 and I really like the phone, but my biggest complaint with it is just the poor resolution of the camera. For ultra pixels or megapixels is just too low, especially if you want to take a look at the pictures on your PC or Mac. And on the phone itself it looks okay, but if you want to print it out or even look at it on your PC, then it looks pretty much like crap. So I'm glad to see that we have a high resolution megapixel camera right here, and 20 megapixels sounds pretty good. Now in terms of storage, I already mentioned that the version that was listed by Cyberport.de has 32 gigs of internal storage, but fortunately there's still the microSD expansion slot, so you can upgrade the storage for an additional 128 gigabytes via microSD cards, so that's great to see as well. In terms of battery, it seems like we get a 2900 mAh battery on the HTC M9, so that certainly sounds decent. It's not revolutionary, but should get you through a full day with the Snapdragon 810. Last but not least, let's talk about the software, and it seems like we'll find Android 5.0 Lollipop with Sense 7.0. So we have a new version of Sense on top of the newest version of Android, so that's great to see. And in terms of hardware, we still get the HTC Boom Sound speakers, which are basically made the One famous in the first place. And HTC teases that these speakers here are even better than on the HTC One M8, so that's certainly great to see. In terms of price, the HTC One M9 32GB version with 4G LTE is listed here on the Cyberport.de website for 749 euros, so that's quite a steep price. And the release date is listed for the 9th of April 2015, so not too far to go. So it's interesting to see how it will retail or for how much it will retail in other countries. And I'm just eager to hear what you guys have to say about the HTC One M9, if this leak is true, and it seems pretty legit. I personally have to say I'm really glad that we finally get a decent camera on the back. At least it sounds like it from the spec sheet. Of course, we still have to wait for the results, but a higher resolution is already very welcome, because it was at least my biggest complaint with the HTC One M7, and also a major reason why I didn't buy the HTC One M8, because the resolution was just too low of the camera and I wasn't sold on this dual camera solution on the One M8. So I'm very glad to see that HTC now finally opted for a high resolution sensor here, and 20 megapixels certainly sound great, and I hope that it will also stack up in the reviews, but we'll have to wait and see about that. So are you guys planning on picking up the HTC One M9 if these specs are true and the pictures as well? I'm not quite sure. Specs certainly look great, but I really was hoping for a different design. The design of the One M8 and One M7 is really nice, but at least to me it gets a little bit boring, especially after 3 years. So I'm eager to hear what you guys have to say. Maybe you feel different, or are you rather waiting for another flagship device like the Samsung Galaxy S6, the Xperia Z4 or the LG G4, so many names. Yeah, just leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I hope to see you next time.